Hey folks, Colin here from Sumthins Recording, and today I have a quick tip for you on how to use drum bus compression. So for me, drum bus compression is another level of using top-down mixing inside the mix, okay? So top-down mixing, if you're not familiar with it, is starting on the bus channels, then moving to the individual tracks, okay? So we start with the mix bus, then we're moving to the drum bus, the bass bus, the guitar bus, before moving to individual tracks like the kick and snare, or the bass DI, or the acoustic guitar, okay? So to illustrate the effects of drum bus compression to you, I have a finished drum mix here, and I'm gonna start by getting rid of the processing on the individual channels, and we'll start by doing the main processing on the drum bus, okay? So this is using that theory of top-down mixing, okay? So here is the dry drum mix without anything on it, okay? We're also gonna get rid of this, we'll actually leave the reverb on for the moment, okay? So here is the dry drum mix. This is just a little bit of panning to narrow the overheads a little bit. Let's add a little bit of volume here. Okay, so that's our dry drum mix. Those are the raw tracks with no processing on it. Just a little bit of reverb and a little bit of panning, okay? Oh, we also had the effect on in the room, but that won't change very much, okay? The one thing I will keep on the room before we do our compression is the low pass filter. So we get rid of that high end there, okay? So to start this drum mix off, we are going to start over here on the bus. So all of these channels are feeding into this bus here, okay? So we're gonna start by adding our compression on the bus and then doing our processing on the individual tracks and then circling back to the bus to finish it off, okay? So here we have our drum bus compressor, okay? And we're just gonna shoot for a little bit of compression here, okay? So we're gonna reset this here and we will redo this from scratch, okay? So we're gonna do a 30 millisecond attack, so a slower attack on this compressor. This is an SSL style bus compressor, okay? So a 30 millisecond attack, that's gonna allow the attack to come through on the kick and snare because those are pretty sharp transients, especially with cymbals and stuff, okay? And then we're going for the slowest release here, the fastest release here, which is 100 millisecond release, okay? So let's pull this threshold down and get a little bit of compression. And if you notice, we're using the shortest ratio here, the smallest ratio, 2:1, because we don't want to go too aggressive. So notice with those attack and release settings, the needle moves in time with the kick and snare, okay? So let me change the attack here, and you can see how it gets a little bit more off time. So see, with the faster attack, we're doing way more compression, and with the slower release, the needle isn't making it back to zero before the next hit, okay? So that's what we want to happen. We want the needle to be back at zero before the next hit happens, so the compressor stays in time with the kick and snare. So take a listen one more time. 30 millisecond attack, 100 millisecond release. And we're doing about 2 to 3 dB of compression here. That's all. So the thing with mix bus compression is you're gonna layer your compression piece by piece, okay? So we're doing a little bit of compression here on the mix bus, then a little bit of compression on the drum bus, and then we're gonna do more on the individual tracks, okay? So instead of squashing just the kick with 8 or 9 dB of compression, we'll do 2 or 3 on the mix bus, 2 or 3 on the drum bus, and then 2 or 3 on the kick and snare themselves, okay? So now we're gonna add a little bit of makeup gain to make sure these tracks are at the same level. That sounds about good to me, okay? So once again, this top-down mixing we're doing, a little bit of compression here on the mix bus, a little bit of compression here on the drum bus, and then a little bit more on the snare itself, okay? So now we're gonna go back to the drum bus here, and we're gonna tweak this compressor one more time now that we've processed the kick and snare, okay? So I'm gonna turn the toms and the overheads back on, okay? So the overheads here, just a little bit of processing here, and same with the toms, okay? We're just pulling out some mid-range. So here is without the drum bus processing, okay? So this is just the individual tracks. This is just if we were to go in and just process the individual tracks, no drum bus compression. So see, without the drum bus compressor in there, the kick and snare are hitting unevenly, okay? They're hitting at different volumes. They sound disjointed. One sounds further out front than the other, okay? So now I'm gonna click this drum bus compressor in and listen to how they sit perfectly with each other. They fill the same space in the drums, okay? That's what our drum bus compressor is doing here, okay? So we're doing a little bit of processing on each track, but the drum bus compressor is making sure the kick and the snare are hitting at the same volume, okay? So let's review here. Drum bus compression is your top-down mixing inside the mix, okay? So top-down mixing from the start is gonna be on your mix bus. Then when you get inside the tracks, we're gonna process the drums all together, the bass tracks all together, the guitar tracks all together, the keys tracks all together. So that's your top-down mixing inside the mix, okay? So 30 millisecond attack, 100 millisecond release, 2-to-1 ratio, and we're just doing 2 to 3 dB of compression, okay? One more time, here is the finished drum tracks. And if you notice here on the drum bus, that kick and snare are hitting at about the same volume. Just a quick one here today for you. I hope that was helpful. Thank you guys ever so much for watching. And if you need help mixing your next drum tracks, head on over to the link in the description, somethinsrecording.com, and request a quote for mixing on your next project. I'll see you guys soon.